Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Film Frauds, or myself, Matt, my co-host, Mark,
Hello.
and legendary Party Clardy.
I wish I actually drank so I could just start.
Look at his
chugging
eyes
stuff.
right now. They're so glazed over.
They're
I
just
bet he
so
got
over.
like 2 hours of sleep.
I know.
Yeah.
I was out last night
Hungover.
playing,
Yeah,
hanging it
man.
up. Yeah. Oh my
So
god.
unprofessional. But this is Film Frauds, where we provide completely unprofessional, 100% biased opinions on the movies of today, tomorrow, and yesteryear. And today, we're wrapping up the Park Chan-wook director series for now with the last movie in the Vengeance Trilogy. This is Lady Vengeance, which, to give a brief synopsis of the movie, is about a girl who just gets out of prison and is looking for revenge against a really bad man who works as a teacher. And a lot of things happen, and it's really, really good. Tyler, what do you think of Lady Vengeance?
I can't believe you're gonna throw it at me first when you already know my opinions on this movie. So just to recap this kind of trilogy for what I think we each think about it. I'm not the biggest fan of Sympathy for Mr. Vengeance. I don't think Mark is either that much.
I think they're the same grade.
I think we have the same grade. I love Old Boy. Old Boy is just it's just an incredible movie. And I think Sympathy for Lady Vengeance is better than Old Boy. Matt, you have warned me a lot about this movie because so this isn't like sort of spoilers, sort of kind of not really, but just spoilers if you want to know absolutely nothing about the movie going into it. My one thing I can't handle in movies is kids getting like injured or kids in like peril or like dead kids or things like that. Anything that like trauma with kids.
Keep in mind he was laughing during the beginning of Hostiles.
I was uncomfortably laughing. It was like me processing my trauma. But Matt, I asked Matt, okay, do any kids die in this movie? And he just laughed. And he was like, okay, well, you'll see. Just wait. And I was like, oh, God. And this movie's kind of incredible. Like, I was honestly like, it combines the best aspects of Sympathy for Mr. Vengeance, of the aspects I liked, and the best aspects of Old Boy into this one chaotic, grief-filled rage movie. And it's amazing, and I loved almost every single second of it.
Yeah. Mark, what did you think of Lady Vengeance?
I'm going to be a little scrambled in my thoughts because I only just watched this last night, and I'm still processing it. Here's what I think. Here's what I definitively know. I liked Old Boy better. However, this film is better than Old Boy.
Interesting.
That's how I feel.
Okay.
There are certain aspects of this movie where I just floored me. This film is given the subject matter and it's very serious. There are some incredibly beautiful shots. Yeah. Like I just jaw hit the floor. Like one that comes to mind is I can't remember the Lady Vengeance's name off the top of my head.
Lee,
but Lee. I guess I'll just call her Lady Vengeance
or something.
I'll just call her Lady Vengeance. She's like standing in the snow and the wind's blowing and it's blowing on her face. It's just like that it's sort of like a Paul Thomas Anderson frame shot.
Yeah.
And I was just like, this is what I'm into. These kind of shots. There are certain parts of the film where my interest sort of waned. I felt towards the end, some aspects were, I know it's going to sound kind of funny, a little anticlimactic. I'm thinking about like the final scene.
Ooh, interesting.
It didn't hit me in the way that I was expecting to. I think this film would greatly benefit from a rewatch because I think the first 45 minutes you're trying to figure out what is going on because it's just this completely unique way of telling the story. So I feel like my opinions on things will definitely change on a rewatch. But Park Chan-wook, I mean, he is just one of the most original directors I have seen. Just the combination of like the realism and the abstract. It's sort of like gives me not exactly David Lynch vibes, but it's like just to like the left of David Lynch.
Matt was trying.
Matt does not like that. Matt does not like that.
You can see it in his eyes, the anger.
Well, because
David Lynch had talent.
Shut up. You've only seen you've seen Dune and Blue Velvet. Maybe if you saw Razor, you sort of get it. And Twin Peaks.
Mark, you love Park Chan-wook, yet you haven't seen like his probably arguably best movie with The Handmaiden, and then like Thirst is really solid.
On Amazon Prime.
Yeah, it's all like if you liked this movie, you would love The Handmaiden. Is kind of everything I'm gathering.
Yeah. I think. What I love about films, and I've talked about this, at length before, is just I love it when movies break convention, and that's what like Park Chan-wook does in like every aspect of this film. I was looking at a review, and like some guy said like I've come to the conclusion that Park Chan-wook hates shot reverse shot when filming dialogue. It's not something I picked up on personally, but like I have to go back and look. But that's just another like directing convention from Hollywood or something.
Yeah.
And just the way the story is structured, and I think one of my favorite parts of Oldboy is when I can't remember Oldboy's name.
Odesu.
Odesu. He goes back to the prison, and like he stands behind the guard, and he has a hammer like this.
Yeah.
I think that red dot goes right to the prison guard's head. Like that combination of like these like visuals with the just real scenes. I love that so much, and he brings that back in this film, and I don't feel like he didn't use it at all in Sympathy for Mr. Vengeance.
No.
And I think that's why I like this film a lot more. It felt like not exactly return to formula, but yeah, I'm talking too much right now. But
No.
yeah.
I like seeing you struggle.
Yeah, I think
I'm not struggling.
Yeah, so I'm the one who's like seen this movie twice now. This is my rewatch, and I saw it a couple of years ago, and I was like, that was pretty good. But then I rewatched it a couple of nights ago, and I was like, this movie is kind of phenomenal. I do also think that it's better than Oldboy, not by much, but I think it is better, mainly in that the third act of this movie I think is the best that Park Chan-wook has ever done. I think that The Handmaiden is a better movie overall. Like Tyler, I think you like Lady Vengeance more than The Handmaiden.
Nah, I gotta rewatch The Handmaiden, and I gotta rewatch this one. I've only seen both these movies once. So.
But I think this movie has the best third act out of any of his movies.
Thirst has a pretty great third act, though. See, Mark doesn't get that. That's a joke. Yeah, that's for us, Matt.
Yeah.
Nice.
I'm just like echoing a lot of what you guys said. He hates reverse shot. He's like a very this is probably his most abstract movie, and I think it like probably blends well with like the realistic directing that he's also known for. And like the soundtrack is amazing. I can't talk about this guy enough.
Oh yeah.
As I look up his name again. He's like my favorite young Wook Joe. He's my favorite composer in cinema. I think that he's just incredible, and I'm really like when I finished this movie. We watched a lot of really good movies on Film Frauds. Like we watched Cold War last week. We watched The Master a couple of weeks ago. And those movies are all great in their own respect. But like finishing this movie, you just get like I just got this feeling where it's like when you watch like a legitimately amazing movie, and you're just like sigh, and you're just like this is like in your head for like the next couple of days. This is what Lady Vengeance did to me. It's probably the best movie I've seen in the past couple months or so. And yeah, I think it'd be interesting to get more into this movie as we talk about it.
One thing that has really stood out to me watching it the first time was the one again. I like certain aspects of Sympathy for Mr. Vengeance, and I do like that more grounded, realistic tone. And I think my issues with that movie come a lot from pacing and characters. And I love the almost like Greek mythos style of storytelling that Oldboy takes. And Sympathy for Lady Vengeance takes both of those tones and mashes it together to create this 2-act Greek mythos kind of like fantasy, like hero's journey kind of movie, and then completely has a tonal change once the third act happens. And we won't want to specifically spoil. We'll spoil the third act in a little bit, I imagine. But
we should build to the third act.
Yeah, because that drastic shift from this almost like fantastical story based on just kind of like breaking the conventional storytellings by like having flashbacks within flashbacks, but having these very like unique transitions was one thing that really stood out to me. Was closing a book or like turning on a match or like looking at bars and the bars form like a cage over the person, and then it wipes to the next thing. You're like, what is happening? You're like, this is insane. But all this unique and conventional stuff makes the third act so incredibly impactful because it strips away all of that and just puts you in the reality of the movie. And it's like, no, horrific things have happened. Sit with it. We're not doing anything. We're not going to distract you by any unique camera things. We're not going to distract you by any like music, cinematography, nothing. Gray, muted. Look at what you have to deal with now. And it's like, oh, and watching it is like the biggest gut punch ever. and it's so well done that I'm kind of with you on this one, Matt. I think the third act of this movie is downright incredible, and I think the choices that Park Chan-wook makes it so incredible. I think probably Handmaiden's a better overall complete story and better movie. But in terms of like sheer emotional impact, this one, like from the very first like few minutes, it hooked me in and just got me for the rest of the movie.
Yeah, I think one of the things I loved about this film, and I felt this way about the previous two Vengeance movies, was just the brilliant subversion of like where I expected the story to go. Because like the second I thought I had it figured out, the third, we weren't in the third act yet, but like the second I thought like, okay, I think I have like the puzzle pieces put together, you know, I was completely wrong. Like when the that photographer guy takes pictures of Lady Vengeance and her friend at the restaurant, and then goes to the bad man and says, "Hey, look,
Mr. Bake."
Yep.
Yeah, look at this. And then I was like, and then he hires the two goons to go kidnap Lady Vengeance.
Great scene, by the way.
Yeah.
Oh, fantastic scene! I loved it. But yeah, I was like, when I got to that point, I was like, I think I was sort of like the Hollywood gears started turning. I'm like, oh, this is gonna happen, and the climax is gonna be in the apartment, and yada yada yada. And then, no, it was like, oh, this what I thought was the rest of the movie was like, the next like maybe 5-10 minutes.
Yeah.
And then we get to the third act, and then we actually get to like the meat of the story, and it's I thought it was brilliant.
I'd say Lady Vengeance is probably the most subversive in its like protagonist-antagonist relationship, because like the first shot of the antagonist is in her dream where he's like he has the head of the dog, and like you just know exactly how she views him just from that one scene. Like there's what Park Chan-wook does better than anyone else is like from like a script standpoint is you always know relationships between characters without them having to say how they feel. Like the Handmaiden, there's never a scene where it's like, oh, I love you or whatever. You just know based on how they interact that they have strong feelings for each other. In this movie, you know that Lady Vengeance just despises this human being based on the first dream sequence where he has the head of the dog and she just shoots him in the head, and it's great. And even like when they're like their confrontation isn't even a confrontation. Like there's no like when you think of Old Boy or like, Sympathy, Mr. Vengeance, like there's like dramatic confrontations between like the two opposing sides.
Yeah.
Like in this movie, like someone like they poison him so he gets knocked out, and then they just grab him. Like there's no struggle. It's just like
do they ever actually speak to each other in this movie? Like because I think
the phone. Remember when the phone rings and like it has like
but like a face-to-face confrontation. Besides, because then she's talking to him through a translator of her daughter, and then she like bounds and gags him, and then shoots him a bunch, and then leaves him. Like, do they ever actually like face-to-face having a confrontation about anything? I don't know if they do.
They never like fight or anything.
Well, not like a fight, but like you have like the interaction over the phone, but never like you're right. There's not like that cathartic like look at me confronting you. It's just very like, all right, look, we solved the problem kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I think that's really. I was just really curious. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt your point.
Yeah, well, you just ruined it.
I did ruin it.
Ruined everything.
That was basically the point, though. Was that I just love the conflicts between them. And how when you think of like Old Boy, like you think that like the whole movie's just about them like trying to one up each other, basically. And this movie is just it's so simple. Like he fails to get her kidnapped, and then she kidnaps him, and he doesn't even do the kidnapping. It's like it's the wife or whatever that does it. And that's great.
There was a couple. This isn't like an ultimate point, but there was a couple of like very prominent like South Korean actors. There was the main bad guy from Old Boy. Was the grown-up version of the boy at the beginning who's killed, and I was like, that's cool. And then basically the main guy in Parasite and the main guy in Sympathy for Mr. Vengeance is one of the killers.
Yeah, I was like, what?
Yeah, I was like, he's in this, and he gets shot in the head, and you're like, whoa! You're like,
I think that's like another like one of the brilliant things about I think Park Chan-wook is like you see the guy from Parasite come in, and you're like, I mean, he's already in Sympathy for Mr. Vengeance.
In JSA.
Like, oh yeah. I still have to watch that, but it's you're like, oh, he's here and he's going to be here for a while because he's a big name actor. And then he dies in like 30 seconds.
Yeah. You're like, oh, great. That's cool. I feel like this movie has like a very interesting, so from the start, like the movie starts off, there's like this very interesting commentary about like the obsession with media, like this very like subtle one where there's like this weird. So the movie starts off with our main character Lee, being basically like accused of killing a young boy. We find out more about their relationship between what actually happens in that. But there's like this weird media obsession with her because she's so young, she's so pretty. They say this in the movie. She's like such a non-entity of what they assume to be a killer that there's like this weird like when she's like reenacting how she killed the kid with like on the doll and like the media is like stumbling over and like falling on top of her.
I just brief mention the edit where when she puts the pillow over the head and then it cuts to the head falling and her collapsing too. I just want to mention that was a brilliant edit. I love that shot so much.
Yeah, this movie has wonderful editing. But it's just like that weird like subtle commentary about like, hey, you know, look at our media obsession with like the weird like the like these fascinating like we're like glorifying these figures.
Yeah.
And ultimately like her like so redemption or like reform in prison becomes like this like topic itself in the movie. It's like, look, like you're this reformed figure to the point she even goes to the parents of the kid and like cuts her own finger off and is gonna cut off more. And but you find out all of this is just an act, so she can basically get to that guy and not have any like suspicion on her. And you're just like, this is like, it's incredible. Like everything that is set up in this movie has a payoff.
Yeah.
It's really, really wonderful. And I was like baffled watching this, just like, even like the set of her like apartment, small little like room, but like the walls are like this like streak of red and black. And it's just like,
it kind of like matches her eyeliner a bit.
Exactly. And but it creates this like weird, like abstract environment that doesn't feel like it's on this earth. And you're just like, it's like, this feels like its own separate kind of like space, and you're just like, what am I watching? It's like in Sympathy for Mr. Vengeance when they go to the apartment, and that's when they keep her there, and that's when he like Sympathy for Mr. Vengeance, his sister kills herself. That like environment feels so detached from the rest of the world. It's just it's like little choices like that I really, really love this movie. I don't know what you guys thought about kind of any of that.
Mark. Oh, I can go. I mean, it's great because you can see it in media today. I mean, like, you know, a husband of a good looking family, you know, kills the family, and that's like the big story for, you know, for like months. And that's what everyone talks about because, you know, it's like good looking or like a good looking like girl or boy gets kidnapped and killed, and then that's a huge story. You don't really hear about because like they know like when you think of like they know like the more attractive the person is, like the more people are going to care about it.
Yeah.
So you see it today. And I also love the detail where like all the women in prison, they're in prison because of like some sort of self-defense from a man. Do you notice that?
Not the person who was robbing the bank though. It wasn't self-defense from a man.
Okay, well not her, but I mean the main character, she was being blackmailed. The bigger, like the heavier woman was like she was having like she caught her husband having an affair with another woman.
Yeah.
And then
she ate them.
What? Yeah, she ate them.
She ate
that was a great shot when she's just like cooking out and like all this like, SWAT team.
Yeah.
That's like Park Chan-wook is such a great director. Like he understands like movement both in shots and in characters. Like such unique takes. And then also the lady who like was like a prostitute for a pimp. Like she was in jail because she strangled her pimp. That was a great flashback too, where she's in the same bed that she was in prison in. But you know it's a flashback because there's just a guy that randomly there and she's strangling him with the tie.
Yeah.
Like again, like Park Chan-wook handles flashback better than anyone else. So there's commentary about like women and like I don't know how to say this, like women and like how
it's like overthrowing like patriarchal society.
It's like being punished or they're punished for like, you know, defending themselves from dudes. Which
no, I mean it's exactly. I just want to throw out there in terms of like creative shots when we find the Mr. Bake.
I think I said Bake. Yeah.
Bake. When him and his wife, and you get the revelation when like you find out who his wife is because he like has sex with her on the table, and like every time he like thrusts, like more information is like jutted out of the table to show like she's arrested. It's like thrust, and then like it's like jutted out like one of those like a typewriter being like wound a little bit, and you're just like, what? You're like, this is so like cool. Like, what is this? You're like, it's just it's framed in a way that it's just her, and it's just like, what are these shots? I think there's like I want to jump ahead immediately to the third act because the third act really tells us to get all this together, but I can't because I can't emotionally get into it yet. I have to build up to it. I don't know. What did you guys think about the performances in this movie?
So I think the protagonists, Lady Vengeance and Kilman Sick, who's like the actor who plays Mr. Bake. They're both incredible, especially Mr. Bake. That scene in the third act where the lady's confronting him about like why he did those terrible things, and he goes, "No one's perfect," and like the way he delivers it, you just any sort of empathy you could and if you could possibly have for him is completely dissipated.
Yep.
Even if you feel empathy, like even if you somebody didn't feel empathy for him, and by that point, like the way he so coldly delivers that line, his logic there is just so utterly disturbing. And it's great. His delivery is just phenomenal. It shows like he's so sympathetic in Oldboy, despite being this revenge obsessed guy. And it shows how versatile an actor he is here. And yeah, I think Lady Vengeance herself is pretty excellent. Even the daughter did really well. I thought.
There's that
he gets good child performances out of actors.
There's that one there was one shot that made me like crack up is when she wants to go to South Korea or Seoul. And then she's like, "No, I'm not gonna go." I'm like,
and then hard cuts her.
Yeah, with the knife, and you're like, "Oh my god!" And then the parents are just like freaking out, and you're like, "Oh, this is great."
And the mom is like just like collapsed crying. Yeah, the dry humor in this movie is so prevalent. It's great.
Yeah.
There is like this. I don't know. There are a few times that I was like legitimately like laughing.
When she gets the job and then the pizza guy comes, like, "This is your new employee," and he's just like completely like enamored by her, just drops the pizza things and walks over to her like a zombie.
It's like, "Can I call you Big Sis?" Or something?
It's like no. It's like no. I like there's just certain things about this movie that I really like. It comes down to just like the unique directing for me. This is, I think, his best directed movie. Again, I don't think it's his best movie, but I think it just terms of like unique shots and just the way in which he just introduces characters and plot elements. And you're right, like from that one flashback, first off, that, by the way, sets the entire tone of the movie. That one flashback or dream fantasy where she has of him with Mr. Bake's head on the dog. Mm-hmm. That's like a drastic tonal shift because there's like this weird serious thing where she feels like the character at that point is like this kind of like lost dove, like this doughy-eyed character who's just being like hounded by media, and you're like, what's happening? Because you're right, Mark, the storytelling is very unconventional here because it jumps back and forth, and it introduces major people in the prison before really, while interspliced with releasing information about Lady Vengeance herself. And you're like, what's happening here? And then once you kind of like figure it out, you're like, okay, that makes sense. But up until that point, she's crying in like the jail cell, and you're like, what's happening here? And then it cuts to her having that vision about her, and you're just like, whoa. And then it's just that complete like change. Be like, all right, I get where this movie's going. I like all this like doughy-eyed, like this innocence that the media and the movie is like portraying of Lady Vengeance, completely eradicated there. Like what you said, Matt, with like there's no such thing as like a perfect person.
Yeah.
And it just like completely shifts your understanding of the characters, which makes this movie, like Mark said, gonna be even better for me on a rewatch, I think. Because now I know what to expect going into it, and now I can look for more kind of stuff in ways that Park Chan-wook like has like masterfully created and woven this narrative. I'm really excited to rewatch this movie. Like I kind of want to rewatch it.
I appreciate so many more aspects of it, not having like to follow the plot.
Yep.
As well.
Yeah.
Like Park Chan-wook is just so I don't know, like he has a lot of faith in his audience, which is respectable. You never feel like you're being talked down to. Yep. He's like, he trusts you to make these little like jumps in the plot. Like he's like, okay, you can figure out like what's going on. There's no like explanation scene or anything. So I, and a certain extent, like that kind of distracts you from the movie a bit because you're trying to like when you have to like make the jumps and what's going on, so that can kind of like derail a little bit like how much you enjoy it. But I mean, upon rewatch, when I knew what was happening in the movie, I appreciated a lot more like the directing and music aspects of it.
Yeah. Oh my god, I had an amazing point. Oh yeah. It is really refreshing. It is really.
It was the best point.
It was the best point.
I too am
anyone has ever made
humble
about anything ever.
What's vain? I don't know what vain means. No, it's very nice because I watched a bunch of like really like contemporary blockbusters this week out of just like whatever. It was just one of those like moody weeks where I didn't feel like watching anything like super serious, and outside of Sympathy for Lady Vengeance. And it's so nice. It's so jarring too to go from this movie that you're right. Like treat this audience like you'll figure it out. Like I trust that you will be along for this journey with me kind of stuff. I don't need to like go and detail everything to then watch like a contemporary American blockbuster. And it's just like
Tenet.
But there's a line in Tenet that says, don't try to understand it. It's like, Okay, sure, I guess. Like I was trying, but I don't know. This doesn't really make any sense. But were they? Because I don't want to compare Tenet to Sympathy for Lady Vengeance because that's comparing like apples to like a piece of poop. It's
The Christopher Nolan fanboys are coming for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh no. Ooh. Whoa. You scare me so much.
I want you to be
Pseudo-intellectual.
that Tenet's a modern masterpiece, so you're wrong.
Oh man. Yeah.
You're
It's such a
objectively wrong now.
Tenet's dialogue is like 75% exposition.
Nice.
It's like, okay, cool. It's like, yeah, it's like awesome. I'm so glad I'm being told what's happening. And in Lady Vengeance, it's just, you know, I like just the like I was so blown away by the transitions. And I know it's such a small little aspect of it, but it's such a creative way to flow naturally from
Things
scene
we
to
don't
scene.
see in movies anymore.
Yeah, it's
Like the attention to transitioning from a scene is like a dying art.
Yeah. It's just like this nice like creative spin that just like, oh man, like you notice it and then cuts and you're like, man, wow, like scenes just feel more natural here, progressing from scene to scene than they do in just most other movies.
Yeah.
And again, like the best like modern contemporary example of that would be like Social Network, where Social Network is like somehow scenes have like ended and started again and it just feels so natural. And like scenes are you're cutting between time and Social Network and it's just, whoa. Like I didn't even know that happened, but sure, like I'm rolling with it. And this one just kind of felt very artistic, and I was like, man, I was really digging it.
Yeah.
I want to talk about the third act of this movie.
Okay, I have one more point to make. Is that the daughter's cat is like the best character in any Park Chan-wook movie I've ever seen in my life.
Why is the daughter's cat
Cute? Very cute.
Because he's just so cool.
Is that what you stood out to you on this rewatch? You're just like,
Yeah,
man, that cat.
The cat just absolutely did it for me. But
Yeah.
The third act.
Do you want to frame the third act and what happens and just like
so they capture Lady Vengeance and her kind of boyfriend and the daughter. Well, the daughter's really help.
Is it a kind of boyfriend? I feel like there's that line where she goes, if that kid who died, you know, if he were alive now, he'd be about your age. I feel like that was like some like guilt. I don't know if it was whatever. That was just stupid. No,
yeah, thanks for interrupting me.
You're welcome.
So they it's like climactically capture the main antagonist in the best way possible.
Was that great? Sorry, there's that great transition where the main bad guy knows that his wife is working against him, and then you see him fall over, and it cuts to the wife, and her face is all like bruised and battered, and you're just like and she's just smiling, and she's like, I won. You're just like, oh, that's so. It's like that very quick, like little cathartic, like, yeah, fuck you, kind of moment.
And they bring her to an abandoned school, like out in the middle of like the woods in some place in South Korea. And she gets in contact with the inspector who originally investigated her case and was like pretty convinced that she didn't kill the boy in the first place. And they get into contact with all like the parents or grandparents of the children who this man, murdered, and they find his tapes too. And
what are the tapes?
What are
the tapes?
There are tapes of Mr. Bake killing their children in gruesome fashions, and
welcome to This Is Film Frauds. Hey,
this is Lady Vengeance.
This is Lady Vengeance, by the way. Yeah, dead kids on tapes.
I like how our intro score is like. So they're talking about children being murdered.
It's subversion. We're subverting the audience.
We are the Park Chan-wook of YouTube.
Look at us go.
And so the dilemma that they present them with is they show the parents the videos of their children being killed, and the dilemma is basically they can either exact their revenge on Mr. Bake now, who's tied up in another room, or they could or they can call the authorities and have him go through the regular process. But they do mention, speaking of the media, that one of the apprehensions of turning him in is the fact that the media will go crazy for the story.
Yeah.
They don't want to deal with that. So like again with like the problems of the obsessed media that apprehends people from wanting to like actually speak out publicly against injustices because they don't want to have to deal with all like the publicity of it.
Should we also establish real quick the relationship between Lady Vengeance and Mr. Bake? Because I don't know if we've touched on that yet. About why she
was that he blackmailed her to confess to the murder of a boy by saying that he would kill his daughter, her daughter.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, so she's basically like a young parent and went to him because he was a teacher at her school.
Yeah.
And then, blackmailed him into committing these crimes, and then that's where we get now. And then he ultimately, not sells, but gives away her daughter to like an Australian family.
Yeah.
Sorry, I was just like, because I wasn't sure if that was super clear or not.
I don't think we said that yet. So then it's just basically them dealing with that dilemma of should they go against? So even the police officer who investigates cases is all for this as well.
Yeah.
Their dilemma is basically that they have to get revenge on their own. And it's just the agonizing process of them confronting their children's killer and trying to get some sort of cathartic like closure out of hurting him, and it's so utterly brutal, and I love how kind of classy it is. So like they do show you clips of Mr. Bake's movies, and
yes they do.
yes they do, and
that was fucking hard to watch.
I actually teared up during the scene where the little girl's like on the stool and they pull the stool, but then it cuts to the grandmother falling from her chair. That really got me. Like I can't even stress enough how he rides that line of you could have ruined the scene by going overly gratuitous with it, but he somehow he just rides
he's edging the audience. He's edging the audience, really.
Yeah, he just somehow manages to get that, but it's not even really about like the like it's like, in True Detective, Mark, like the scene where when Russ Cole shows Marty the tapes to get him back into investigating the case, and like you don't see what's going on in the tape, you just see Marty Hart's reaction to it, and it cuts to Russ Cole smoking the cigarette in the back, like, and then he's in the background like freaking out, and you just know like whatever's on that tape is just the most gruesome thing you could possibly imagine. Right. And it's like that fear of the unknown is what really works here, and by the fact that these people are literally collapsing on each other based on what they're seeing, that what they're watching is extremely emotionally damaging to them, and it's so I can't express enough how brilliant this is.
Mark, you said you thought the ending was slightly anticlimactic. Can you explain kind of like anything with that?
I'm not precisely the school scenes, but I feel like before I say what I'm about to say, I'll preface this by saying that I think the translation scene between Lady Vengeance and her daughter through the bad guy is brilliant. I think that's absolutely brilliant. It's shot brilliantly. I just totally love that scene. The final scene, I understood what was happening and why it was important, and I felt nothing, really.
Wait,
not like nothing, but like when she sticks her face into the cake, sort of. I get what it meant.
Oh, you're talking about. Oh, you're talking about like the after.
Yeah, you're not talking about the last.
Oh, I think you're talking about like all the dead kid scenes, and I was like, Mark, you're even colder than I am. Jesus.
No. The final scene. I'll just be honest. Like I know I'm some sort of. I'll get back to the school part, but that scene, I understood why it was important and what it was and why it was brilliant, but it didn't hit me the way I was maybe expecting to, or maybe Park Chan-wook wanted me to. Because after like you get that like incredible sequence in the school, and then like the group goes and they have cake, and then it's snowing, like that's great. And then once that ends and it goes to like the daughter relationship, and like she's in her mom's apartment and there's smoke. Yeah. I'm just like I was like, okay, like I've already had like the catharsis that I wanted. Yeah. And like now we're going back to this, and I was just like, it was less interesting.
So I feel like there's a few things. I feel like that the impact of that scene takes away from the fact that this is also her journey to like redemption as well, and not redemption, but like getting revenge. And that final ultimate kind of interaction with her daughter and stuff like that is kind of the acceptance that like life has gone forward, and she has gotten what she wanted, and she has some relationship with her daughter, but ultimately like she's not still like a major part of her life. Matt, you look like you want to majorly.
I think we haven't thoroughly talked about.
No, we have not thoroughly talked about.
Scene yet. We can get to that last scene.
Okay. Matt's focus. Jump out of his chair.
Tyler, as someone who is against violence against children being on screen for the most part, what did you think of how the handling of this scene?
So this scene's masterful in I think every single regard. one, I've already mentioned the massive tonal shift because you move away from like this like almost colorful, bright environment of the city to this snowy, gray, dark,
bleak,
gloomy, like bleak environment. There is no music in this entire scene. There is no unique camera shots. There is nothing except grief and trauma and misery, and then anger. And you're just like, this is incredible. The best way they establish the scene in such an impactful way, because you have them look at the first tape with the inspector, and he just leaves and gets up and throws up. And you're just like, dear God, I hope they don't show it. And then they show some of the stuff, and the parents in this movie, I don't know if they're actor. I don't know who they are. I did not even bother to look it up because I don't feel like reliving that. I looked up like other Sympathy for Lady Vengeance reviews on YouTube, and like the third result was this scene again. Like it's like the final scene. If you look up reviews for it, I was like, I don't want to deal with this right now. I can't emotionally. The pure like decision to cut away from music and have actual audio of like the kids like begging.
And it has like that grainy like VCR audio.
Yeah,
too.
and it just feels like a snuff film because it is a snuff film.
It is, yeah.
And then cut to the parents like in agony is just such an important decision to make in this movie, because the movie has spent so long creating this otherworldly environment that it sets to remind you, no, what we're dealing with is a realistic and fucked up individual. This is not to be taken lightly. We are not in another world. We are not like, this isn't fantastical. Look at the horror that has happened. That one shot that you already mentioned, Matt, of, because there's a scene where I hate even thinking about it, but where Mr. Bake is like, has one of the kids and he's gonna hang the kid, and you're just like, what the fuck? And then he like yanks the rope for the chair, and then the old lady falls over, and it's just that moment where you're like, did I just watch the kid fall? You're like, oh no,
Yeah.
like, what happened?
Yeah.
But it cut, and you're just like, okay. But you're right. Park Chan-wook rides the line. So you're not so it's ultimately what's great about this scene is the graphic imagery is not what stands out, but rather the reactions of the people. And he rides that line because you see enough to justify the reactions. Because if you don't see any of it and it's just these people freaking out, there's that point where you're like, I wonder how bad it is. Like, you're like, I know it's bad, but if you go too over the top with the reactions without seeing it, then you start to distance yourself a little. Exactly. Yeah. But you witness it, and then you're there, and you're with the parents. And so ultimately, there are decisions after. You're like, yeah, fuck this guy. I don't give a shit. Kill him. Like, do whatever you want. Yeah. Mark, what did you think about this?
Well, I sort of emulate all the thoughts you just expressed. I also like how there's a little bit of humor sprinkled in there. I'm thinking of the exact part where there's like that wide shot of all them sitting.
Yeah.
And one of the parents looks to the other guy and says,
and
he's like holding a stick.
Yeah.
And he's like, is that going to be enough for you? And then he pulls out an axe and fastens it to the thing. I thought that made me laugh pretty hard. Yeah. And yeah, it's nothing short of brilliant of what Park Chan-wook did to like, what I love about movies like this is just like getting into a situation where you're like, this is amazing, and I can't believe the director was able to fashion a story so that we could get to this point and believe it and be into it. You know what I mean? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Because the circumstances of the third act are just so extraordinary and unique that it just like enhances your viewing experience, because like it's just there's nothing like it. Because you have this whole row of parents in these. Like it was like a sort of a court drama for like 10 minutes where they're like arguing, and they're like, does this man deserve the death penalty, basically? And then you get that shot of them all with like the what I forget what it's called, like a parka.
They're just like raincoats so blood doesn't get on them.
Yeah, and I loved how Mr. What's his name? Sorry,
Bake.
He's fastened to the chair, and he can hear them like discussing his fate.
Yeah.
I thought that was absolutely brilliant, and I think it would have really taken away from the film if Park Chan-wook was too gratuitous with showing Mr. Bake's like torture.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, because it's just insinuated. Like they come out of the room and they're just covered in blood.
I was gonna mention that, like when they collapse coming out of the room, you know, like that's all you need.
The best shot of that is when they're lifting all the tarp up and they puncture the bottom of it, and it's just like gallons of blood spew out, and that right there is just like oh my god, like how much did they just brutalize him? But there's that one shot where all four of them go after him, and you just hear screaming and stabbing.
Yeah.
And you're just like, what the fuck? It's But also, like, what's really great about it is Park Chan-wook like establishes like interpersonal relationships between these characters. Like, there's a divorced couple in there, and there's one guy who just doesn't want to do this, but his wife does, and he's just he's inconsolable, but she just wants revenge, and she's the first one to do it, and you're just like, what? You're like, this is like a 10-minute scene. You're like, how did you do so much with this? It's like, it's so just detailed and thorough, and there's just so much in it. And it's better, like, this type of scene does not get made in an American movie.
Yeah.
Like,
the subject matter does not get made.
No. They're like, all right, I want to make a third act of a movie be about families watching their kids die, and then they kill the person.
Yeah.
And I want to see some of the kids be in agony. All right, let's greenlit it. $30 million. It's like, that doesn't happen.
Yeah.
You just don't do that.
Zack Snyder attached to direct.
Yeah, it's like,
oh God. Oh God.
Oh, that'd be so stylized. You'd see like the knife entering. If this is a Zack Snyder movie, there'd be snow falling in the background.
And like the kid would die like Jesus when he'd fall. And like,
yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh, it'd be a commentary
subtle.
on religion. Yeah, he'd be a pastor in that movie, in an American movie.
Oh yeah. Yeah. That's probably right.
And Mark Ruffalo would be the lead.
Yeah. They knew. He let it happen.
Mark Ruffalo.
Spotlight's a good movie. I crap on Spotlight a lot. Spotlight's a good movie.
Spotlight's good, but it's just so bad compared to Calvary.
Yeah. I'm still thinking about this fucking Sympathy for Mr. I like the sequence where they all bury the body and she just shoots him twice. She's like,
to make sure.
Just to make sure. It's like, yeah, he's dead.
Yeah.
Like,
all right.
Great.
So we can talk about first the cafe scene. I love the cafe scene.
Yeah.
When they all kind of come together and just talk, and then there's a scene where there's a silence, and then one of the people says, according to Christianity, when there's silence in a room, like an angel's passing by or something, and it's playing the song called Marata Marata.
Damn!
Paches,
Wow.
Marata Marata Paches Porlar, which is a Catalonian song, and it's like very operatic.
Yeah, who is this kid? Who is this?
Are you
kid
Italian?
Catalonian.
We don't know the difference.
Like Barcelona.
Keep talking. We don't know enough. We're not cultured enough. Keep going.
Catalonian is like a small language spoken in Spain, in like the Barcelona area.
Boring. It's not language frauds.
Yeah.
So, and
We're
it's
only
like,
talking about
very,
South
it's like
Korean.
very, it has like very operatic, has like high hymns to it, and I don't know if you guys even noticed the song.
I was more focused on like the after when that one guy enters the boyfriend, and it like breaks the environment. They're like, yeah, I gotta go, like snow, and it's like breaks that spell of like, okay, like they've had their bubble and they've like connected as like a group, and then this is it. Like they don't ever want to probably see each other again.
Yeah. But my point is that it's like an angelic hymn playing, but no one noticed it, so it's fine.
Yeah.
You're just too smart for us.
Yeah.
I listened to that song like 3 times since I watched the movie. I love that
what's wrong
song.
with you?
It's by Vivaldi. It's like a good, really.
Okay.
Of course, Vivaldi. Of course.
Yeah.
He's also he's in Old Boy. Like they pick us. I think the toothpicking song in that like the it's Vivaldi.
I know what you're talking about.
Park Chan-wook clearly likes classical music, so it's good to know.
Anyways, so no one noticed that or whatever. I was going to talk about it, but it's fine. So we can talk about like the last scene with the daughter. We kind of already got Mark's opinions.
Yeah.
I really like that scene.
I
think
it
it's
too.
like the perfect like exclamation to
Yeah.
it. It's like there's a quote. So this is interesting because there's a quote that I read on the Old Boy episode, and I think it's interesting to reread again because I don't know if this quote really applies to Lady Vengeance, so I'm interested to see what you guys think.
Okay.
The quote is, and wait, where is it? That's what Tyler said.
That was a throwback to something I did in high school.
Yeah. Okay. So the quote is about vengeance, and he says, "Vengeance is a device which dares to make us think what it is to be human, and to think about this human existence. Vengeance is meaningless. Revenge is about something that has already happened, and when you are trying to achieve vengeance, you are investing in your everything into a venture that will lead you to no benefits in the end."
You should be a voiceover actor. That was just like
That was incredible.
That was incredible.
Yeah, I think
It moved beyond words.
Yeah.
I think I glazed over when you first said vengeance. I went, huh?
What?
No. I don't know. Like, again, this movie, like the third, like the final, like cafe scene with the daughter is tonally right back in line with the first 2/3 of the movie, which makes the third act even more like secluded in like its own reality. It feels like, and I don't know. I really dig the first 2/3 of this movie and that kind of like fantastical tone.
But the point of the quote, which I read, which you completely ignored, is that
no, I didn't ignore it.
Is that I feel like the characters are getting a little bit of like cathartic closure from their act of revenge, and it seems like it's a little bit contradicting that quote, because you see in Old Boy and in Mr. Vengeance where revenge gets them nowhere. It only leads to more death and horrible things. And here, like the in the cafe scene, you see like the parents are all kind of bonding over this in a way. So
it's kind of that like assumption. Well, it's ultimately one, they decide to take that photo to implicate themselves. There's that kind of but there's also like they talk about like the legal, like they have enough evidence to he'll get the death penalty. He'll die, but it's ultimately kind of I don't know if it's necessarily like I think that's actually a good point. It does feel like a little bit contradictory, but I feel like that's him mashing two different styles together. Like Sympathy for Mr. Vengeance shows both movies show the negative implications of violence, because both protagonists in Sympathy for Mr. Vengeance and Old Boy end up like scarred from their kind of like acts of revenge and violence. I mean, the guy dies in the end of Sympathy for Mr. Vengeance. Spoilers. Sorry. 2002 movie. Go watch our other review.
no one's seen it.
No one's seen it. Yeah. And the Old Boy one, spoilers for Old Boy, he ultimately ends up like worse off than when he started. Like it's a very interesting thing. And I think that's a good point, because the characters in this movie end up better. Like their mission is solved. They won, and that's it. And they all seem kind of happy about it. And I think that's a very interesting thing to touch on.
I would say that the quote somewhat applies to the protagonist, where and this is why I like the ending so much, is because it doesn't seem like revenge gets her anywhere. Like you see her walking alone in the snow, and she doesn't feel like she's found any catharsis from this. And then when the daughter gives her the cake is when she's just like so overwhelmed with with emotion that she just throws her head as the cake as this reactionary thing that she doesn't know how to feel. So I think that ultimately Park Chan-wook is saying that it's like affection and love that is what is ultimately going to get her to change, not like her act of revenge. The revenge in itself is not portrayed as something that's necessarily terrible, but it's ultimately like the relationship with her daughter that is what is going to help her improve in the long run.
Yeah. I think that I think I don't know, Matt, you just kind of like
you hit it
on that. Yeah. Do we guys want to go into a Hallmark scenes, Sleepy Time, and Blackout moments?
I just have one more point to make.
No. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Go.
So I don't know if you guys have seen these before, but Park Chan-wook is kind of considered to be like the South Korean Tarantino, and having watched like all these Park Chan-wook movies, I think that's like completely inaccurate.
Well, Tarantino is known for like an eccentric style and like certain like. I don't know if that's accurate, but I can understand where they're coming from here.
I think like if you watch Old Boy and it's like so violent, that's like, oh man, like they both have stylized violence, but I think both directors are amazing, obviously, but I think that Park Chan-wook style is completely different from.
But you can tell it's a Park Chan-wook movie. I mean, like, just look at like if you're telling me you didn't know anything about Thirst, I just said watch this movie Thirst. You're telling me you wouldn't pick up that's a Park Chan-wook movie from like the obsession with like sex and violence and how.
I would, but my point is that I don't think that he's anything like Tarantino. I mean.
Well, no, I don't think so either, but I think they might be talking about his distinct style rather than like in actual similarities in terms of filmmaking. I just think Tarantino likes that kind of like hyperized style of violence and like breaking conventionals and like bottle up movies and stuff like that. And Park Chan-wook loves sex and violence and vengeance and what it does to people. I don't know. I get it, but I don't get it at the same time.
Yeah.
Mark.
So Hallmark scenes now? Sorry.
Sure, Mark. What's your Hallmarks?
Yeah, sure, Mark.
Sorry, I was thinking about my finals for like 3 minutes. I was like, I got a lot of stuff to do. I kind of just blanked out for the past 30 seconds. Hallmark scenes. God, there's a lot of them. Let's see. I'll boil it down to one of the ones I loved was when they try to chloroform Lady Vengeance, and they think she's knocked out, and she gets up and she has like that 2-barrel like North Korean spy weapon.
Yep.
And then it blows a hole through that guy's head. That's when the score cued in. Yep. I loved when the score cued in throughout this film. It was just like brought everything up to like an 11. The whole third act, or not the end part that I talked about. That was like 0. That was like 7% of a Mark Sleepy Time moment. The final scene. We have a great
After my great
here.
analysis of that scene.
Yeah. Matt just crushed it. Mark's just like, I felt.
Now you know how I felt. Now you know how I felt when we talked about Night of the Hunter. I was like, Matt just doesn't get
Night
it.
of the Hunter is a bad movie.
It's not a bad movie. It's actually a masterpiece. It's actually a masterpiece. It is an objective. This is a scene from Night of the Hunter. It's objective when I.
I hope that's the thumbnail again.
That's the point of it. That's the point. Whatever. It's not Night of the Hunter review.
We already did one of those.
Yeah, check it out on Film Fraud. Tyler will link it up to the top. No, he won't.
No, you just go watch it.
I loved the whole like everything involving the prison. Just like putting those puzzle pieces together, like who's who.
Yeah.
Like flashback scenes. That was probably one of my favorite parts of the film. I feel like there's just like I had these long stretches of Hallmark moments, and then some moments where I was like, oh, I was a little less into it. But this movie's like in its whole, like 70% of it is a Hallmark moment. Does that make sense?
That makes sense. Yeah. I like Matt. Do you have any specific?
It's like the third act.
Yeah. It's like it's the third act. Yeah. You can't beat it.
You can't like if I had to pick one scene, it'd be like the transition from like kicking of the stool to the grandma falling from the chair. But it's like the whole thing is it's like ranking the Lord of the Rings movies. Like they're all you rank them as like one thing. You know.
Except Fellowship's the best movie. Just throwing it out there.
No, 22 Towers is the best movie.
Did you say 22 Towers again?
I said 2 Towers.
What was I gonna say? Hallmark scene. Yeah, it's the fucking third act. I mean, I've been like dying here talking about it, so it's the third act. All right, do you have any Mark Sleepy Time moments?
I've already sort of said.
I don't like. It's not anything for me, but just if you're watching this movie, the first like 15 minutes can be a little bit confusing. But if you just like sit and just like I don't know, I replayed like.
It requires you to take patience.
Yeah, like there's one point I was like, I gotta rewatch.
Fans don't have people like watching movies don't have anymore.
Put your phone away. That's it. Like if you put your phone away for 10 minutes, you're understanding the first 15 of this movie.
Yeah.
Black Hat moments. No. Okay, yeah, that's good. Whew. I was a little bit concerned on that one. All right, let's go into grades. This is going to be an interesting one. We grade on an ABC to the F scale, no plus or minuses. I don't know. Why not? Mark, what are you going to give Sympathy for Lady Vengeance?
Well, I don't want to give it a B, and I don't want to give it an A. So I'm going to say fuck you, Tyler, and your grading scheme, and I'm going to give it an A minus.
And so it's an A. That's all that matters to me. Okay.
It's not an A. It's an A minus.
But it doesn't matter because screw you. Matt, we're gonna give Sympathy for Lady Vengeance. Let's do it, man. Let's do it.
It's
Come on.
the highest A possible.
I also give it the highest.
Just like was amazing.
Yes, I also give it an A. That means there are 3 Park Chan-wook movies in our Hall of Fame now.
Yeah.
Handmaiden, Old Boy, and Sympathy for Lady Vengeance. This movie is the highest A possible. I was so excited. I watched this like a week ago just so I could let it sit.
As I said, like I watched this 3 nights ago, 3 nights ago, and 2 nights ago, something like that. And it's just been on my mind since. It's one of those movies. Like again, I watch a ton of movies, and this movie above most that I've seen in the past couple months. Just like when it was over, just like.
Yeah. Exactly. So we finally have another movie in our Hall of Fame. We reviewed Old Boy in August. It is now December. And
that was August?
Yeah, we did in August. And now we're back. Was it August? No, it couldn't have been August.
That was like July.
We did Old Boy a while ago. Matt,
it was like
quick.
July or August. I think it was like really early August.
Yeah. Wow, it's been a while since we've gotten to you, Matt.
I can figure it out, actually.
What was I gonna say, Matt? Well, before we get to our what we've been watching section, you watched this on the Criterion website. What'd you think of the website?
I mean, I just went on to watch that, but I liked the style. I thought it was really interesting. I don't know. Maybe I'll get Criterion at some point.
We have my login now, so you know.
Well, I'm not going to just use it because that'd be really scummy.
I mean, it's one of those things like, hey, I'm going to use it. And I'm like, okay.
Okay.
Let's see.
I mean, I really liked it. Was very smooth interface. I was in like there's like a ton of movies on there.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, like maybe again I'll use it at some point, but probably not anytime soon.
All right.
Because I don't want it to
All right. So
be a parasite.
Ooh. Merriam-Webster defends parasite is defined. What was I gonna say? All right, what we've been watching section. We're talking about what we've been watching, playing, reading in the last kind of week or so. Matt, mainly because I want to hear what you say about Cyberpunk in a little bit of detail. What have you been doing this week?
Wait, I gotta pull my letterbox. Go to Mark.
Mark, what have you been doing this week?
I haven't watched anything, but I've been reading Ernest Hemingway's "The Sun Also Rises," and I'm like in love with it. It is phenomenal. The story takes place. It starts in It's the 1920s. It's in Paris. A bunch of 25 to 30-year-olds who are like writers, journalists, party goers who mingle and interact, and then the story ends up going to Spain in the bull runs.
Ooh.
And it's just Ernest Hemingway. I completely understand why he won the Nobel Prize. I mean, his writing is just one of a kind. It's
I'm totally reading this book at some point. From what you said last week, I want to read this so bad. That and the other book you mentioned by him, I can't remember.
It was like I was reading this. I was like, this book was put on this earth for Matt Martin. I'm such a last name, but
Matt's been saying my last name for like the last 2 episodes now.
Whatever. I'm not gonna dox Matthew. But yeah, this book is like, Matt, I just don't understand how you're not on this stuff right now. But yeah,
my name's pretty public out there, so it's all right.
Yeah, it's
wanted list.
You'd think like writing that's sort of like and then would be like bad, but like Ernest Hemingway makes it good. It's just like this is what happens in the simplest way possible.
He won a Nobel Peace Prize.
Nobel
Prize for literature. Whatever.
He won. So in 1953, he won the Pulitzer Prize for The Old Man and the Sea, and then in 1954, he won the Nobel Prize for literature.
I was gonna say he won the Nobel Peace Prize, and he's like a very violent and angry person. I was gonna say it's very impressive.
Yeah, I think like I definitely want to read a lot of like the Nobel Prize winning books. Like one of the books I have is Dr. Zhivago, which was this poet who wrote this one book, and it was about a young man in pre-revolutionary Russia, and it won the Nobel Prize. So I'll probably read that soon. But Ernest Hemingway, oh my God, lives up to the hype. I'm about to finish The Sun Also Rises. I have A Farewell to Arms, For Whom the Bell Tolls.
God damn, Mark, you read a lot. I'm impressed.
A Movable Feast. There's the big man himself right there. I think he was our age in this picture.
He's kind of hot, honestly. Yeah, he's hot. Yeah, he's like super hot.
He's at his little peak.
Yeah.
This, I think I talked about this on the last episode, but like this is about Ernest Hemingway in the 1920s with like James Joyce and F. Scott Fitzgerald and him sitting in cafes writing and his writing process and how he comes up with his stories and what his methods are. I mean, it's like this should be called Matt. So read some Hemingway and then read A Movable Feast.
Matt just got so excited. Don't pan the camera down, Matt.
Yeah, and then I don't watch any movies. I've just been studying and reading.
Oh my God! Your dick has a red light on it. Are you Rudolph the Red-Nosed Red Dick?
It's on a nose.
Matt, what have you been doing this week?
I watched Park Chan-wook's Thirst.
Hey,
it's a movie that I want to love, but mainly in the third act. With the character, it's basically like a dark, twisted vampire fairy tale.
Yep.
And it has so many great Park Chan-wook like style choices that we've mentioned in previous episodes, but the characters do so many deplorable things in the third act that I just did not care if they lived or died.
Yeah.
At one point, the ending is great, but like there's this like between the second and third act where like they're just like doing these horrible things, and I'm like, but there's no like side character that's really relatable either. So you're just watching it and you're like, why do I care about anything that's happening right now? Because it's all excellently done, but it's like I don't want any of these people to succeed.
Yeah,
like you saw it, right, Tyler?
There's a scene in Thirst that I feel like Thirst suffers from like a very middling first hour. I kind of dug how like absurd the last hour gets of the movie.
I like the first hour a lot, actually.
Really? Wow.
Interesting,
Okay, interesting. But there's this part in the movie that I haven't laughed that hard in a long time. Was when, not spoilers. They're both vampires, the main two people, and they're like chasing each other on rooftops, and he like grabs her foot,
And she hits her head.
She just like smacks her head, and, like hits the ground. You're like, oh my god. But just I don't know. I found like the absurdity in like, again, Park Chan-wook has this not weird obsession, but this like focus on like violence and sex and what it does to people, and you put that in this environment where like these people are so powerful and they can basically do whatever they want. And I just think that's very interesting. I thought the character work in the first hour and the pacing in the first hour were really kind of bleh. But then I think it's kind of interesting to me. So I'm a little reversed on you.
Have you guys watched Stoker?
I have.
I have not.
Is that all the what are all the parts? Have you seen all of them, Tyler?
I haven't seen JSA, or like there's one like Cyborg.
I'm a cyborg, but it's
Yeah, I haven't seen that one. Stoker is his American
Drummer Girl.
I haven't seen Little Drummer Girl, it's right. But Stoker is his American movie, and it kind of isn't great. It feels very like Americanized, because I think it's like might be PG-13. I'm not sure.
If it's funded by American companies,
PG-13.
Yeah, but no, it's not. It might not be PG-13. But the thing is, though, it also like it has this focus on like sex and violence as a coming of age story, and that sounds really interesting, but it's not developed at all. And the main guy, the bad guy from Watchmen, is one of the main guys in this movie, and he's pretty good.
That it's Stoker and I Am a Cyborg, that are the two that I haven't seen.
Stoker's like 90 minutes.
Cyborg and JSA, right?
Yeah.
You'd probably really like JSA.
I think I would too, from everything I've heard.
It's on Criterion, right?
Yeah. Matt, what else did you watch?
I watched A Christmas Chronicle.
Oh my god.
My younger neighbor was over and she wanted to watch it. So I mean, Kurt Russell is like phenomenal. He gives it his all, and he's great in every movie ever. And like there's like I think it's definitely more of a kids movie, but as like an adult, it was tolerable and it was kind of interesting at points. Like kid actors are kind of annoying, especially because like the little girl is like really giving it her all, and like things is like such a great role for her.
Oh my god.
Kurt Russell is great, and it's like Santa Claus, I guess, for the next generation. Tim Allen Santa Claus or whatever for younger kids.
Yeah,
it's fine. And I'm still reading Leonardo da Vinci biography. I'm like 200 pages in right now, and I'm really liking it. I think the author like goes off on his own tangents a little bit too much. Like I don't really care about his interpretations of the art.
Yeah. I mean, he sort of like says like, this is what I think is the best painting by Leonardo or something. Like stuff like that.
I mean, it's not like bad, but it's like sometimes it's like.
Yeah, I can see why it's not your cup of tea. I liked it. It's just cool just seeing what is like this sort of relationship he developed with Leonardo. Just from studying him so much.
But I mean, I like all like the actual history stuff with Leonardo. And like I'm during his time with Milan right now.
Yeah.
And that stuff is really good. How he was working with what's his name, Sforza or Savadocchio or something. Whoever's the leader of Milan at this point, and it's like he assembled like the Avengers of geniuses, of engineer art geniuses to do work.
Raphael,
that's a good idea for Marvel.
Michelangelo.
And it's
the Renaissance painters.
It's great. Like it's really interesting how Italy at the time was so like passionate about like getting these brilliant people to actually do work, and it's really good. I really like it. I'm gonna keep reading it, and it's like a fast read too. Like it's like 500 something pages, but like the pages like fly by pretty quickly. So that's good. And
just one last thing on Leonardo. Have you got to the part where they talk about the Vitruvian Man?
Yes, I got to that part.
I love that part. Like just seeing like how like the design of the buildings was like structured about like the human.
Everything with Leonardo like that we're learning is that like he compares like how like a woman's braid compares to like the flowing stream of water. Like he's constantly just comparing different things to things you wouldn't expect to compare it to, and that stuff is really cool. I love to see his notebooks.
Oh my god, I actually own a book. You can actually buy like I got for like $15. It's like Leonardo's notebooks, and it's like every single page, like all the big pictures. It's awesome. I got that at the Museum of Fine Arts. So.
And finally, I've been playing Cyberpunk. I played it I have like 2 hours into it right now. It's good. like with any CD Projekt, like Witcher 3, like it's probably my favorite game ever. But when I first started out, it's so overwhelming with its RPG elements that it's kind of hard to like really gauge how you feel about it when you first start it.
Yeah.
You got to have the vigilance to continue to go through it and not say it's too complicated for me after playing for half an hour.
I was waiting for that one. I was waiting for that one. Now I deserve.
Ooh, I wonder who you're talking about.
Yeah, I was waiting for that one.
The atmosphere is great. Like you start off in a club and it like the way the audio sounds and everything, it just sounds like you're actually in a club yourself, and it's like really, really cool. I haven't gone to any of the glitches yet. I haven't really gone to any open areas, but I'm really going slow with it right now because I want to give the developer like time to issue more patches, so like I'm playing the better version of the game.
Yeah. How big was the download?
Oh man.
So it's original. It's like 40 something gigabytes.
40 something, and then it's like a 15 gigabyte update.
Oh.
50 or 15?
15.
15. Wow.
Yeah. I just got an update again this morning too. So I don't know if that helped anything at all, but I really want to take my time with it because like, I don't like I had one glitch where like the guy like walked through the elevator. It was pretty fun.
Yeah.
But nothing terrible yet, and I kind of just don't want to play too much of it. So like my experience is tarnished with glitches,
Yeah.
Right.
But
I think it's
that's about it for
me.
me.
Mentality. So I thought I had like a very like slow week, and then it turns out I didn't. So last week for grad school, I'll just start off. I have so much stuff. Last week at grad school, I had to do a 38-page writing paper. A 17-page paper, and while I was doing that, I was rewatching one of my favorite like TV shows, and that's New Girl. New Girl fucking kicks ass. I love New Girl. It's a show on Netflix, like this like sitcom, but not a laugh track. New Girl is awesome. It's very funny. So I just want to throw that out there. I've watched like a season.
Am I tell you to watch it?
No, I've seen New Girl. I watched it the last few years or whatever. You've never seen? Okay. You guys, I already seem like you guys lost credibility in this, so I hate both of you. New Girl's a great show. Matt, you would love it.
I like how we're talking about Leonardo da Vinci, and then Tyler's like, I watched New Girl.
Well, don't worry. We're talking about Leonardo da Vinci, and then I also watched Tenet, so we're in the same track. Tenet is like, okay, so do you guys have any questions about Tenet? Do you guys want to?
I just don't care about this movie.
Okay.
I have negative interest in Tenet.
The sound design is nowhere near as bad as people were saying. I think people are just stupid.
Mark, remember how 5 seconds ago we said we weren't interested?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just want to know, but I'm saying Tenet's like a standard Nolan movie. That's it. It's 2.5 hours, and it flies by, and it has good pacing, and it's actually kind of funny in a few parts, and it's just whatever. It's a movie.
So after having seen it many days ago, have you worked out anything about the plot?
I don't give a shit about the plot. It doesn't. They tell you in the movie, don't worry about it. I was like, okay, cool.
So what are you supposed to be invested in?
I don't know.
Christopher Nolan's great ability to write characters.
No,
his brain, how smart he is. Look how smart he is.
I just want to throw one thing. Kenneth Branagh is kind of really great in this movie. I just want to throw that out there.
He's a great actor and a bad director.
Yeah, that's a good. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
No, his
directing is okay in Jack Ryan Shadow Agent.
He directed Jack Ryan Shadow Recruit. Oh my god, I gotta rewatch that movie.
He directed Artemis Fowl though, so I heard that was bad.
Yeah, he did the Henry V, which is decent.
Basically, he plays like this abusive monster, and he's actually really great at it. No, it's fine. Like honestly, John David Washington is like there are a few times it's like that just feels like it's Denzel Washington, but like not there yet.
That is
like,
son.
Yeah, it's his son. He's really good in this movie, and I was impressed. It's a Nolan movie. It's gonna be really great visuals, and it's broad in execution, but pretty like narrow, and it's broad in concept but narrow in its execution. Poorly written characters, but like visually, it's like incredible. It's whatever. I rewatched 2010's True Grit for our Western video. It's really solid. It's also like very quaint. And I was surprised at how like small it was. Yeah, it's just like
penis.
Oh damn, nice one. Hey, boom, nice.
Yeah, boom.
And then I watched Olympus Has Fallen, which is like offensively bad, but I had so much fun with it.
I remember like seeing that movie and just completely losing respect for it as soon as the old senator lady is like being dragged by the hair and she's saying the Pledge of Allegiance.
Yeah. No, wait, she's not saying the Pledge of Allegiance. She was just being really tough, and then she got beat up.
She was saying the Pledge of Allegiance.
She was not saying the Pledge of Allegiance. I just watched the movie. I promise you, because I was laughing. There's a scene at the beginning of the movie where
I'm convinced you said the Pledge of Allegiance.
I'm convinced. Honestly, at a certain point, my head started to hurt watching the movie. But there's like scenes where like a gunship is flying over Washington D.C. and just massacring random citizens, and then it cuts to like the bad guy going like, you sold out, Mr. President. This is all because of you. It's like, what the fuck is happening? Gerard Butler just like swears and just shoots people in the head, and you're like, okay, cool. It's like
the other little dufty. He's like, oh wait, un-American.
He's like, no. Listen, the movie's bad. I had fun with it. It's like kind of like offensively bad, and I had fun with it. Then I watched Quantum of Solace. Solace. Idiot.
Matt, what's the verdict here?
Solace.
Oh, thank you.
Okay,
so,
that's the Quantum of Solace.
Yeah. I heard, like, if you go in Letterboxd, there's, like, this resurgence of love for this movie because they're, like, it's, like, an angry and, like, brutal and mean James Bond. And, yeah, but it's one of the worst directed movies I've seen in a long time.
Who directed it?
Since Black Hat.
Since Black Hat.
Yeah.
I can't find out who
it was Michael Mann. He ghost directed it.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you. Some guy named Mark Forrester who directed World War Z. So, you know.
World War Z is a good movie.
No, shut up. Get out of here. But basically, like, the movie's, like, it just kind of sucks. Like, there's some really great stuff of James Bond being angry and mad and just, like, treating, like, friends and enemies alike. And you're like, that's kind of cool. But it's just whatever. It's a pretty horribly and shot directed movie. And then I rewatched Spectre. It's fine. It's just
I just remember, like, so, like, Skyfall's my fourth favorite movie of the decade. So I love Skyfall. I was so excited for Spectre. And then, like, the way that the villain tied everything together was by having printed out pictures of other characters from the previous movies, just there. And I'm like, with like tape on the wall, like tape to the wall. It's like it's all connected.
No, it's even dumber. It's even dumber because they basically the CIAQ guy goes, look, everyone has touched this one ring that you have, and then he makes a graphic that shows all the bad guys, and then it shows the main bad guy and an octopus, and you're just like, okay, cool. No, listen, like. It's like, in terms of, like, first off, Dave Bautista, he's amazing in this movie. He is such, like, a physical force. It's incredible. The first hour of this movie is, like, legitimately really great. But then it becomes, like, you know, the character trilogy of Casino Royale, Quantum of Solace, and Skyfall. They just don't continue the like, it's just a discontinued James Bond spy thriller. And it's a generic but decent one at that. I was like, all right, cool.
I remember when I saw it, I've seen Spectre once. It was in the theater when it came out. I remember that there was that scene where Christoph Waltz is like putting the thing into James Bond's eye.
No, he's putting it in his
neck. Or his neck or something. He's like, there'll be irreversible damage from this. And then like he gets up and he's like, fine. And there's like, oh, there's no consequence.
Yeah, he basically goes like, oh, he's like torturing him. And then he's like, if I stick it in this one place, you're going to forget about her. And he's like telling her evil plan.
Wait, what's Sector on? Like, where'd you watch it?
I just rented on Amazon. Whatever.
Yeah, he rented it on Amazon.
I rented it on Amazon. You can look at my credit card. Look at my credit card. I was gonna say. No, it's like it's just generic James Bond movie. It's decent. Like that's it. Like it has some cool stuff, and then it has just some boring stuff. And then I've been playing I'm like 6 to 7 hours into Ghost of Tsushima. Man, I love this game. That game's so much fun. It's like I'm starting to get ahead. Like I'm starting to figure out like perfect parry. Matt's checking out right now. I'm starting to like talk about perfect pairing and stuff like that. It's getting pretty fun, and talking about cutting people up with swords is pretty cool. And pretty game. I like it. I don't play video games. I'll talk about it probably more in the December recommendations when we get to that. So, all right, cool. Matt, what's our call to action since you guys check out on all my movies? I give you guys time to speak. I give you permission.
Wait, you're on your phone the whole time when we talk.
No, I'm not.
Yeah, you are. Every single time.
Whenever someone mentions a book, Tyler's like,
what? I haven't checked Letterboxd in 10 minutes.
Hey, listen, I got a notification. Some random person liked my Spectre review. So I was like, hey, yeah.
I don't like how much they hated it.
I gave it 3 stars. Hey, rude. Okay, Matt, what's our call to action? What are we doing next week? What's going on? All right, thank you guys for watching.
Like, comment, subscribe. Check out all our other videos we're doing. Maybe
every single one. Watch all of them.
Smog video this week. Probably not.
I know. I will.
We got our summer recommendations coming out. What?
The fans want your Desolation of Smog review.
It's a funny video.
Authoritative reviewers on this.
Tyler's too busy watching 15 hours of movies this week.
Watching 15 hours of generic blockbusters from the early 2010s and then worshiping Michael Mann.
Okay, so I just want to be honest real quick. I'm probably going to watch White House Down tonight. It's a Roland Emmerich 2013 action movie. I'm kind of in the mood to watch it after Olympus Has Fallen.
And then you're gonna watch Top Gun, and then you're gonna watch.
Hey, don't put Top Gun into White House Down in the same category.
He's gonna watch Black Hat in reverse and with Mandarin subtitles.
Hey, that's my thing. Come on.
Oh, I'm sorry. That's right.
Yeah.
That's why we didn't like it.
Look at this
first watch it,
White
Mark.
House Down. Jamie Foxx is the president, and look at Channing Tatum. He's so cool. It's directed by Roland Emmerich.
We're like selling this really great episode.
Okay.
For Lady Vengeance, so we should stop now.
Yeah, that's like, don't tarnish this. This is my thing.
Okay. So yeah.
Wait, Mark, what are we watching next week?
Yeah.
We're gonna watch The Third Man, the 1949 movie starring Joseph Cotton and Orson Welles.
Is that on
I watched.
Criterion?
No. You're gonna have to fork up some money to watch that. I actually own it on Blu-ray, so.
Whoa,
Later,
you're
losers.
cool.
Later, losers.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I have a knack for planning.
It's one of my
things in
200
advance.
Blu-rays.
Hey, Tyler's the Blu-ray guy. Okay,
Yeah, come on.
Let's not get out of hand.
Don't turn that way.
Yeah, but yeah, we're watching the Third Man.
I feel like Tyler's life could be like a Kafka short story, more instead of like Metamorphosis, where it's like he turned into a beetle. It's like this Tyler's books just like overwhelm him, and he can't. And like more Amazon packages keep coming with more books, and he doesn't know why they keep coming. And eventually, he's just gonna like suffocate in the books.
Yeah, I agree with that synopsis.
You're good. You guys get fun over there.
It's gonna be like a criticism on consumerism.
I can't.
Matt. When you left, before we started the recording, do you know what Tyler said?
What?
Tyler said, "I should buy more books."
Why?
I don't know. I was in the mood to buy one.
Wow, it just writes itself.
Yeah.
It just writes
I was
itself.
about to say you guys are bullying me too much. I should end this episode, but I
Maybe
did
the next
say
Werner Herzog. I'm gonna like find weird people to do documentaries on. I'm gonna do Tyler. It's
Give me the
gonna
most
be
boring-
like Tyler, unironically thinking he's so wise and woke because he has like all these books, and you're like, what's in Whom the Bell Tolls? And he goes, well, I bought it. Did you read it?
Instead,
Well,
it's
I
like
also bought this book. And this book.
it's gonna be like Grizzly Man.
He texts
but
oh hey, 3 more books just came.
It's gonna be like Grizzly Man, but instead of being Grizzly Man, it's gonna be called Consumer Man. And then at the end, a bookshelf is gonna kill him by falling on him.
Oh, could this thing tip over? Oh, just look at that.
Yeah. Yep.
That's because it's so heavy on top, it leans against my wall.
Tyler, you know that you've achieved peak physical form and you can deadlift that bookshelf. Try it right now.
I'm not gonna get up and I'm not gonna blow out my back.
No, do it right now.
This is weightlifting frauds.
You don't know it. My voice is cracked. Have you ever deadlifted? Do you even know there's no grips here to deadlift? It just follows.
That sounds like a
afraid?
loser talking.
We're still recording.
Yeah.
I'm not getting up. You need to see my pajamas.
Deadlift it right now. Do the tops then. There's tops
deadlift.
Okay, hold on. I'm gonna deadlift it real quick. Ready? All right. You get to see me in my pajamas, folks. Look at that. Look at this.
He's gonna die. He's gonna
He's
fall on him.
break his foot.
This isn't gonna work. I don't
do
have
it.
grip. Can I even like? Oh,
Come on.
shit.
Come on, do it.
Come on.
I don't have grips on this.
Oh, be quiet.
Okay.
Oh.
Underneath
I
it,
don't have grips.
Tyler, underneath the first shelf. Just do
Yeah,
that.
dumbass, it would fall over on me.
Just do it. Not do it straight.
This better get 1,000 views.
Man, all that
Better
weightlifting for
be titled,
nothing.
better go on a
No,
podcast
all that
highlight.
wasted time.
Is it even worth working out if you can't
Was he
bench
even
press a
working
bookshelf?
out? I bet he just goes to the gym, takes a snap, and then leaves.
I can't lift it.
Oh, he's weak. He's weak. It's been decided. Lady
Tyler,
Vengeance is
what's
a
it
good
like to
movie,
pay
and
for a gym
Tyler's weak.
subscription?
Hey, Mark,
What's it
your
like to
max
pay for a gym subscription just to go take a snap that you're at the gym and then not actually lifting?
Hey, Mark,
weights?
what's your max bench?
Whatever yours is +1.
Oh, okay.
Do it. Come on.
Yeah.
I already tried it. I can't lift it.
You barely tried.
Oh my god, I'm not lifting my.
Haven't you been working out for like 7 years or whatever?
That's
Yeah.
after you, man.
Matt's going. What happened? We were friends. We agreed on the Sympathy of Mr. Vengeance review.
Deadlift.
God damn it. All right, I'm ending this. This is stupid now. Like an hour and 40 minutes. All right, thank you guys for watching. And I can deadlift
Bye.
stronger than Mark. And I got